John on the bass. Alexander's going to play the fiddle. And Robin's on the drums, and I'll be playing the drums for us later. So how many of you, like me this week, have been watching the news, reading Twitter, listening to those speeches, seeing images in the media this week? And we live in this economy in Calgary, and we hear stories about restriction and lack. It might be logical for us to begin to believe that life is difficult, that we live in a world of division, that there's a lack of money and opportunity. We might begin to believe we need to protect ourselves, take care of our own. We might begin to think we need to hold on to what we have and to restrict what we give away. However, in our time today, I want us to remember that what we read and see and hear in the media is a very limited, negative view of life. It is not the truth of us as a spiritual human race. It's not the truth of us as a spiritual community, as a community here in Calgary. It's not the truth of us as individuals. We know this, don't we? And that's, I think, one of the reasons we keep coming back to this teaching, to remember this truth. So in this talk, I intend to encourage all of us, myself included, to turn away from the negativity. Ernest Holmes talks about just turning our face away from the condition and to the truth. And sometimes it's turning our face, our gaze inward, and sometimes it's knowing that's greater spiritual truth. So I encourage us to turn away from the negativity and to remember that we live in an abundant universe with enough for all. A world that has so many opportunities to affirm that life is good and rich and filled with love and opportunities to create, as we say in our mission statement, our vision statement, a world that works for everyone. So I'm here today to affirm our spiritual truth by talking about the nature of giving. As many of you know, I often find inspiration for living in the people around me, people close to me. I come from an incredible family. Many of you have heard stories about my mom. I'm not going to tell another story about mom today. Although I could go on and on. Oh, thank you, whoever said that. But I am going to talk about my sister Corinne and her husband Irv. And they have a long history of giving. And they are shining examples to me. Recently, they returned from a 3-month stay. They're both retired teachers. They returned from a 3-month stay in Marimba, Kenya, where they volunteered their time and expertise in Our Lady of Grace Children's Home and Our Lady of Grace Children's Academy. It's actually founded and maintained by a woman who grew up in our hometown in Drumheller, and Rita Balachandra has come a long way since then. So this is a photograph of Corinne with one of the girls at the school. It's all girls. There are about 200 of them. So it's a big undertaking. Isn't she lovely? And Corinne says they're just so loving, these girls. They just so want to be there and they want to learn. And many of them come from families where AIDS took their parents, so they're on their own. She said they're so helpful with each other. They just form this incredible community of living and learning together. Corinne and Irv have also spent their 30-year careers in a giving profession as teachers. How many teachers do we have in the crowd? Yeah, a few. So those of you who have been teachers, and those of us who've learned from teachers, may have observed that it can be a profession that requires a lot of giving of the self. My sister and her husband also give close to home. So they've been supporting aging parents for at least 10 years now. He used to drive to Edmonton frequently when his parents required help. My mom was in the hospital for off and on and needed medical help. They were often driving her into appointments from Drumheller. They were going to the hospital, going to the nursing home. My sister, when my mother needed it, went 3 times a day. Did her laundry, and this is dedication. 3 times a day she'd be there, assisting my mom with her meals, making sure that she had what she needed. And they do all of this service, and they do other things in the Drumheller community as well. They do all of this service with no complaint. They're not the ones to jump up and get their names onto plaques and get credit for what they're doing. They are the people, and we all know some of them ourselves. They are the people who generously give of their time, their talent, their treasure, from a seemingly endless resource of energy and willingness. My sister's a little older than me, and I struggle to keep up when I spend much time with her. And maybe you are one of these people. I hear your stories, and I know that many of you have circumstances in your life where you give a lot. And you give, I know you give from the heart in so many profound and caring ways. So for Corrine and Irv, and for the generous people you know, where does the spirit of giving come from? And how can we get more of it? So to provide an opportunity to explore this topic, and encourage us to unleash even more of our giving natures, I created an acronym for giving. Gratitude, individuality, value, instinctive, now, and growth. So gratitude sets us up for giving. Doesn't it seem like when we're feeling grateful for what we have, we're happy to give? Conversely, when we're feeling worried we don't have enough, don't we tend to hang on and become afraid to share? So we can begin then with gratitude, with affirming our own abundance and looking for the evidence. And when we're feeling that sense of, ooh, there's not enough, look for the evidence. Could be a perfect sunset, a loving relationship. Could be a great cup of coffee. When I was thinking about this talk and last minute replacing Pat, I thought, Pat's kind of like a cup of really good coffee. She just really gives you that boost to get going. And I'm thinking I'm more like a good fine cup of decaf. Right? The same deep message, but without quite the same amount of buzz. So we can remember when we look at our lives, look for the little things, we can remember we have more than enough. And that we always have a lot to give. Wayne Dyer said it this way: there's the surplus of joy you feel that you can offer to yourself and your family. Then there's the excess of intellectual prowess, talent, compassion, health, strength, and kindness you can share with the world. Whenever you see deficiencies in joy, abundance, educational opportunities, perfect health, or sobriety, make your own surpluses available. Isn't that great? I love that. There's always an opportunity. So we come from gratitude about what we already have, and from that place, we notice where are the places where others could use our help. And after we give, we know that our own abundance increases. So the gratitude, we start out grateful, we give, and then we have more to be grateful for. We give from a generosity of spirit, and we also know that giving and receiving are part of those spiritual laws we believe in of attraction and reciprocity. We say it all the time. What we give returns to us multiplied and overflowing. Life is richer by means of each of us when we engage in the divine flow. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Abundance is mine. I cannot be deprived of my supply. The trees do not lack for leaves, nor do the flowers fail to bloom." That's my photo. From Serbia. My sister and her husband taught my sister taught in Montenegro for a few years, so I was on vacation with them. And I love this because the flowers have that will to live, right? They're growing out of rock. The second letter in our acronym of giving is individuality. So giving offers us a way to express our individuality. We are at choice on what we want to give. Just because my sister went to Canada or your friend volunteers at the food bank doesn't mean that that's what you or I should do. We can give what we want to give. Bringing flowers to a friend, listening to someone who needs to talk, offering a ride, supporting someone in fulfilling a dream. We had an example of that last week when so many of our congregation went to the center to support the workshop leader. He had announced the workshop, and many of you went to help him by being an audience for him as he created a video that he can use to promote his work. A form of giving. We always have the choice to look at ourselves, our interests, our talents, and decide how we want to offer our gifts. The third letter in the acronym is V for value. I want us to remember to never doubt the value of our giving. Let's believe in our own generosity and in the value of the gifts that we offer, no matter how humble they may seem. For example, I have a passion for education and learning. But if I want to support education and learning, I don't have to wait until I'm rich enough to build a school, like Rita did in Kenya. What I can do is I give $25 a month to a scholarship fund at Bow Valley College where I work, and I know that money blesses students every year. So how are you now adding value by giving? I think it's worthwhile to remind ourselves of the value of our giving, in part because we may not see the results for a while. How many parents give, and in some stages of your parenting, it may feel like you were giving more than even you could manage. So how many parents give, and it's only years later that they see the results of their contributions or feel like they get any kind of reward for it. So it's important to remind and affirm ourselves as we go along that our giving has value. And the next letter in the acronym is instinctive. We are givers by nature, both on the human level and our spiritual nature. In some teachings, they would teach us that our human nature is restrictive, our human nature is selfish, our human nature is somehow smaller than this piece of God in us that will help us to do better if we look to that instead. But in our teaching, we don't buy it. We say that we are spiritual human beings, that every particle of our beings is made of spirit. So it is in our very nature to give. Let me give you an example of how we start out that way. Many years ago, with my now 28-year-old nephew, so I've remembered this for a very long time, because it had a real impact on me. He was only 3 years old. And I asked him to do something for me. He did it, and then he looked up at me and he said, "I'm a good helper." And he couldn't have been more pleased with himself. And I said, "Yes, Sean, you are a good helper." Even as a little one, he knew the satisfaction of giving. I was discussing this talk with my partner, and she shared that a coworker told her the other day that she wanted to share her love of classical music with her family, so she wanted to create a CD to give to them. But she was having trouble finding the music. She didn't really know how to download a CD. So without even thinking about it, my partner said, "Well, I'll create the CD for you." It was just a natural impulse. It's in our nature to want to help. We want to give. The next letter in the acronym is N for now. Now is the time to give, or to increase our giving. It's important that we turn our generous thoughts and ideas and impulses into action. How often have you or I, or maybe it's only me, how often have you or I thought of something we could do for someone else, but we never get around to actually doing it? Anybody other than me? You know, lots of good intentions. What if my sister and her husband just sat in their living room and discussed what needed to be done? Instead, my sister gets in her vehicle and drives to the hospital 3 times a day. She and her husband make the phone call or send the email to make an offer to help. They book the airline tickets. They follow through. If we see an opportunity to help, what are we waiting for? I love this quote from Khalil Gibran, the Persian poet, who wrote, "I slept and dreamed that life is all joy. I woke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I saw that service is joy." What are we waiting for? We know that feeling. It is so wonderful when we give. It's ours to do, and it's ours to do now. And the last letter in the acronym is growth. Growth is both a result of giving, so we give and it expands us, our nature, our capacity to give, and a desire to grow is a great reason to give. So growth kind of has that 2 aspects to it. Giving grows us, and when we want to grow, a great way to do that is to give. Giving will grow us in consciousness and awareness and ability to give, and when we are conscious, we are more inclined to give. It's like this lovely upward spiral. Bullinger Brown also wrote, "You give little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." The caterpillar is, well, that's commitment. Giving from the heart, mind, and soul, as we are meant to, expands us as spiritual beings. And it increases our capacity to give. Giving is kind of like a muscle. When you exercise your muscles, they get stronger. And when you exercise the act of giving, you're giving a muscle, if you will, capacity, gets stronger, gets bigger. My sister and her husband notice little things I would just not think of. And I think I'm a pretty generous person. I think I give on a pretty regular basis. But they just notice these little things. We were staying recently with a lovely woman who lives in the Okanagan. She's a good family friend for, I don't know, 80 years because she's 100. And they were forever running and grabbing her stool. She was cooking, I should have brought a photo. She was cooking for us, cooking Eggs Benedict. It's one of her specialties. So she's cooking Eggs Benedict, and she stands at her kitchen counter and she needs a stool, and she's only about maybe that tall. She's just a little bit of a thing, little French-Canadian spark plug. But they were forever running to just do little things. And I'd be sitting kind of oblivious to the next thing that needs to be done. So we exercise that giving muscle. So let's practice our ability to give, starting right now. So I'm going to do a little activity with you. I hope you want to participate. First, I'd like you to think, and you can close your eyes, but you don't need to. You can just keep your eyes open if you like. And I'm just going to describe what I'd like you to do, and then I'll give you just a minute to carry it through. So first, I'd like you to think of something you are grateful for. Something in your life that you appreciate. And immerse yourself in the feeling of that, the joy of it. How does that make you feel that you have whatever it is in your life that you're grateful for? I'll give you just a minute to do that. And when you have an example and you've kind of been in there for a few seconds, give me a little wave to let me know you're done. So, something you're grateful for. See quite a few waving hands. Thank you. So something you're grateful for, and how lovely that is to have things in your life that enrich your life and that you can feel grateful about. Now I want you to wish, whatever that is that you are grateful for, I want you to wish it for someone else. Think of someone else in your life, and it could be someone very close here, or it could be someone far away. It could be a group of people, it could be one. But wish this thing that you are grateful for someone else. Picture how it might look if they had it. Think about how happy they might be about it, how it might show up in their life. And again, the same thing, if you do that for a minute or two, and give me a wave when you feel like it. I'm not going to go any farther with that. I just really want up here.
Look what I was grateful for.
Okay. And now finally, think for a moment, is there any way that you could begin to help this wish become true for the people you were thinking about? If you wished for them to have more love, could you do something loving for them to remind them that they are loved now? If you wish them more abundance, is there some way you can contribute to their well-being? And that isn't necessarily money. And so take a moment to think of that now. And it could be something very tangible, or it could be something less tangible, a way that you could support them and give to that person or group. I'm going to wave. I see some waves. Good, thank you. That one might have been a little bit tougher. Sometimes we're not really sure right away, how could I turn this into action? How could I make this happen? So if nothing came to you in the moment, I invite you to just take this thought with you and let something come to you this week and take some action on it. The action, as I said, it may be something tangible, or it may take the form of powerful, positive thoughts for that individual's good, or that group. So, I'm going to sum up. So to review the acronym. So giving can be described as gratitude that reminds us we have so much to give. Individuality, we are our choice to give what we choose. Value, we can quietly affirm that our giving has value. Instinctive, remember that it is our nature to give. Now is the best time to start. And growth results from giving, and growth expands our capacity to give. So the nature of giving is our nature. It's in our human and spiritual DNA to give, and it is in our nature to grow. These ideas work perfectly together. Sort of chicken and egg, and it doesn't really matter which one comes first. Because each of us grows out, each growth and gratitude grow us more fully into who we are and what we are meant to express. Life will grow us if we say yes to life and give from the fullness of our being. And I think the reason it feels so good when we're giving is because it truly is our nature. And it's a fulfillment. We know that as we do it. So my wish for all of us is that we remember who we are. We're givers of love and life. And that we have the generous thoughts and take the giving actions that bless others and ourselves. Because we are perfect and magnificent, and because we're worth it. Thank you.